And I'm going to tell you a story about my parents growing up because my next door neighbor was African American. We both competed one day for the head of the twirling, and I don't think you even know this about me, Director Fatakas. We competed one day for the head of the twirling department. And I'd be out in the street practicing every day. My father would be watching me. She'd be out in the street practicing every day. Her mother would be watching her. We go to compete with 8 other people. She got the captain. I came home so furious. She got the captain because she's black. My mother put her glasses down and she said, she got the captain because she's better than you. Now go call on her like you do every other day. You stand behind her in line and you let her lead the squad. That was a very, yes. That's an important lesson because I think, Brad, you talked about values, core values, and you've got to really stand up with conviction. I was sharing with Brother Shamari earlier today, and I said, you know, right now I'm getting a lot of hate email. And even though I'm Caucasian, right, there are people, white people, that are pushing back, okay? So this work is hard work, but I have to tell you, look who I have up here, right? Look at these beautiful children. When I was appointed superintendency, my board, and I have 2 board members here, Director Fatakas and Director Larson, they said, you know, race and equity is really a #1 priority. We've got to get out into the community. We've got to listen to what people are going through. We've got to go above and beyond. We've got to develop this policy. And because of leadership turnover, and I'm not going to lie about that because there's been significant central office turnover, because if your values are not in alignment, there's a problem. My superintendent's cabinet is very, very diverse. It needs to be, because there are different perspectives. We have lively conversations in cabinet. We go back and forth, and when race and equity comes out, they call it out. That's a racist remark. This is why. Let's change this behavior, okay? Now, at the end of the day, at the end of cabinet, it's like, okay, I'll see you for dinner tonight, right? We've grown to love each other. But here's something else I know. I came from New York. 2 members of my cabinet came from another country. Another member of my cabinet came from Detroit. When you're not from the Pacific Northwest, I'm used to New York direct. I mean, it's just like, yeah, can I have that by 9 o'clock in the morning, right? And you can't operate like that. So me learning to navigate the Northwest system is very, very different, but this is real, right? I have to say, hey, how are you doing today? You look great in that blue suit. If you have a chance, can I get this in the morning by 9 o'clock? Now, you know that's the truth. Now, my deputy is from Detroit. She just calls it straight like it is. Your privilege is getting in the way. Back down. She'll tell you right as a teacher. She'll say, oh, no. When we go to lunch together, I always have to call out to the waiter or waitress, why do you always ask me what I want first? She's sitting here ready to go, right? And I do it in a very respectful way, but this is all part of racism, right? This is all part of what we're trying to change. My students, I serve 3,000 students every day, and that's my life, right? My life is not a 9-to-5 job. My life is 24/7. I had a student commit suicide last week, and going to that family and seeing the struggles. I don't even know how to help that family. But guess what? The fact that you connect with families that are struggling like that, that's the real work. When I go to undocumented families and I'm in an apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment with multiple generations living there, right? In many times, not very nice conditions, but you bring them a meal. You tell them you're there for them. You help them. The humanity has gone away in our society, and we've got to bring it back. So that's how our journey started. Tukwila just had, had my core values written all over it. I think my school board knows, my community knows. If they need me, I'm right there for them. And it has to be your mission. It has to be why you do what you do. So without further ado, Malia, let's show them the why.
It doesn't really matter about what race it is, because we all have the same blood and we're all living in this world.
Hi, my name is Nathaniel.
My name is Taylor.
My name is Sabrina.
My name is Mason.
I'm Carmen.
My name is Jose.
Popti.
My name is Marguerite.
Aisha.
I'm Idella.
My name is Donna.
My name is Marlo. My name is Adriana.
My name is Isabella.
My name is Yasmin.
My name is Tyler.
My name is Javier.
My name is Sebastian.
Racial equity means everyone having what they need in order to succeed. It's not necessarily everyone having the same thing. It's having what they need to fit their needs as a specific person.
It's important because it builds a healthier community. Race equity to me is making sure no matter what race you are, basically guaranteeing any culture that their rights will be met regardless of anything that makes them different.
If someone is left out, they could feel sad, and some people need more help with things than other people do.
Everybody should be treated equally and have a good job so they can feed their family.
If you treat people fair, then they'll treat you fair. Treat people how you want to be treated.
Everyone needs to be included, not just this one race and no other race. No matter what color you are, you could still be treated the same.
My friend doesn't have the same color skin as I do, but he's my friend.
We need to start valuing a person for who they are instead of categorizing them into their race.
I think it's important to treat people fairly because it doesn't matter if you're different, it just matters if you're nice.
It's not cool to be mean. Don't be mean to your friends. Everybody should be included and everybody should be part of something and not have to be put down because of what they look like.
I think it's everybody's job to treat people fairly.
I stand up to racial inequities because if I'm deciding some of the rules for the district, then maybe I'll be able to change people's mind in the school.
That we'll be able to connect with each other on a different level if we just see each other like as we are.
Everybody would have the same opportunities as each other.
It's not just like being treated equally, it's like having the same opportunities as another person. Even like if you're a person of color compared to like a white person, I still have like the same opportunity to have the same education, the same healthcare.
We just adopted a race and equity policy. We were one of 2 districts in Washington State that has already completed that. So this policy will really guide all other policies in the district to ensure that we are doing things through a race and equity lens, ensuring that that fairness and justness is equitable across our system.
It's gonna be a long process. There's still like a lot of work that we need to do. There's still a lot of ignorance and lack of knowledge.
So there was our why. First slide's up.
Hi, can you guys hear me all right? Yeah. Okay. I'm an 8th grader at Showalter, and I will be covering our school's diversity. The Tukwila School District proudly wears the label of the most diverse district in the nation. But what good is that label if we act like every other district? As a school of our diversity, we are obligated to represent every culture as well as provide a safe learning environment for every individual. But instead, while we focus on the impressive diversity of our school, we fail to recognize how many of these minorities are discriminated against socially and through education. I can confidently say that not a single student in Showalter would truthfully deny that he or she has heard or seen a form of discrimination, racism, and/or prejudice on campus. But the injustice doesn't stop when school doors close and the period bell rings. In the 2015 and 2016 school year, the referral rate for Black students was more than twice that of white students, and the test scores were disproportionate when categorized by race. Among the 8th grade students who took the SBAC in the Tukwila School District, only 42% of Black students' language arts results met standards, while 68% of white students and 61% of Asian students met or exceeded standards. As for math, Black students had a success rate of 33%, while white students had 56% and Asian students 58%. Now, some would argue that these results are only a student's fault, and that certain races naturally tend to perform lower than others. But stereotypes and mentalities like these are what hold back so many students' potential. It's a teacher's responsibility to reach out to students when they're falling behind or even simply lack interest. A teacher cannot dismiss the fact that a student is falling behind just because his skin is a little darker. And not a single day goes by at Showalter where this doesn't happen. We hope to address problems like these in the Showalter Race and Equity Club and assist in producing procedures to help close all forms of opportunity and achievement gap in our district. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Russell, and I'm in the 8th grade, and this is a quote from a student, and it says, "As a student, I too often see groups of kids fall behind in class, and the teacher silently watches as the students fall farther behind until the students can no longer be seen. Oftentimes, teachers dismiss the fact that a student is falling behind because the color of his skin makes that the norm, as if a darker hue of skin permits failure."
I'm a teacher at Showalter Middle School. And I've just returned to being a full-time student, teaching full-time, and I'm also a parent, and I look forward to the Race and Equity Committee meetings every month, and now we have a Race and Equity Club with the students, and so that's twice a month that I get to participate in these activities, and it really keeps me going. I joined in the second year of the committee, and I am entering my third year with the Race and Equity Committee now. At the end of the 2014 year, I'm just trying to give you a brief history of what we've done so far. At the end of the 2014 year, we began a book study of Courageous Conversations, which simultaneously was happening as I began teaching Social Justice Fridays with my students in response to Ferguson and Baltimore. This connection helped inform my teaching as well as give rise to a platform for my students to use their voices to make a change. In the 2014-15 year, we analyzed and broke down the old policy and began researching other policies from around the country. As mentioned before, we knew that our diversity was hard to match and we had to create quite a bit from scratch. This was long and hard work that took us into the 2015-16 year with new leadership and new consultants on board. When we arrived at a policy that we were ready to present, we gathered a roundtable of about 40 7th and 8th grade volunteers, handed them the policy and asked them their opinions, questions, and concerns. A core group of these students, some here today, presented at a work session with the school board and explained their position on the policy and asked how the board would hold the district, schools, and teachers accountable for their work. This subcommittee of students is what made the policy take flight. Without their voice and demands, we would not have the foundation that we are now building our procedures around. The students continue to have a voice. Showalter Middle School has created a Race and Equity Club that is open to the high school as well. The president of the club has spoken with you today, 8th grader Abe Rios, and his colleagues have shown dedication to the work that has been done and to building the role of students in the work that is done. Their voice has been the driving force behind our work and a powerful statement of dedication to our district. The committee has taken the time to not only say all students, but more importantly, to focus on the importance of each student.
So, Showalter teacher, Miss Herda, an amazing teacher with arguably better hair, has started a program of Social Justice Fridays, where every Friday she raises awareness on issues of social justice. When I took her class last year in 7th grade, I undoubtedly better understood our world's mentality, and I found patterns in how everybody treats each other. Not only did Social Justice Fridays inform me about the injustices in the world, it gave me a passion to try and change the world for the better. I truly believe the only reason I am on this stage today is because of the passion I developed in 7th grade social studies. With Social Justice Fridays, students learn how dangerous the effects of stereotypes and prejudice are in the real world.
Hi, I'm Zainab. I am a freshman at Foster High School, which is in Tukwila School District. And one thing that we did as a race and equity thing was we had a day of solidarity, and on that day we spent, it was a full day, a whole school thing, and we spent the day talking about social justice issues and things like that, and it kind of woke up this mindset in different people, and it was very interesting to see how supportive our community was and how like different people didn't think about these things because they're privileged. And seeing that, honestly, to me, it was the best experience ever, and I hope they continue doing it because it was amazing. And that's all I can say. It was amazing.
I think it's on. Yeah. Hello, my name is Yasmin Leva. I'm an 8th grade student at Showalter Middle School, and first of all, I'd like to say, in all honesty, I didn't want to come here today because I had to present to you, the adults. But after the election 2 days ago, I felt it was my duty as a Latina woman born and raised in El Salvador until the age of 7 when I moved to Tukwila. Oh my God. Oftentimes, the primary cause of prejudice, racism, and bigotry is simply misinformation. Whoa. People preconceive negative ideas of races and religions from events they see on the news or other media outlets. We need to own that the system is failing people of color and minorities. And that's why an ethnic studies class would inform students about the true experiences and practices of not only their own, but their peers' cultures as well. Not to mention, as the most diverse school district in the country, we have a responsibility to represent all individuals in our community. If only about half of our school's population is white, why should I spend all my middle school years learning about the United States history? So I can look at a white male and be like, yeah, his ancestors rode over on the Mayflower and signed a compact saying that they would govern themselves. And then I turn and look at the new Somali boy or girl who can't speak a single word of English and find myself not knowing a single thing about his or her culture's hardships. Students should be equally informed about all our world's cultures, and it makes students be much more attentive and willing to participate if the lesson was about their culture. An ethnic studies class would be a small step towards a brighter and more equal future, but the ethnic studies class shouldn't be an additional class. It needs to replace the white curriculum. Race and equity isn't just for schools with populations with people of color. All white schools need to be taught and exposed to race and equity as well. Thank you.
school board member, I get to do this. This is...
You got this, Mary.
As of 2 days ago, I will have been on this board for 21 years. And in that time period, I've seen such significant change happen, and I say it's for the good. This is the world that my children are living in, and these young people are amazing. And by being able to engage with them and taking what they have to say seriously, our hope is that we're going to be eliminating the barriers for them, for their siblings, that they're going to be, our hope for them is that they're going to be the ones who change the world, because they know what it's like to live in harmony. They live with the world, they work with the world, they go to school with the world, and my 2 white boys have been incredibly blessed. They got an education in this district that I could never have paid for, being able to go to school with the world. They can get along with everyone, they understand different cultures, they're going to be in work situations with people who are different than them and have had different experiences, and they know how to get along. And so we expect our kids to be leaders, and we're trying to do what we can to prepare them for that. So student voice has been really important to our board. We've had student representatives on our board for the last 10 years. We take we have a junior and a senior at the high school. They apply when they're sophomores. If you don't have student reps, and I know most of the school districts in King County do not, I would highly recommend that you consider this. They are our reality check at our board meetings. We ask them for their input. We take them with us to our conferences. We take them with us to Olympia. We have them speak to our legislators about what needs to be done. And our decisions are different because of their voices. The title of our policy, Race and Equity, was a direct result of the 2 work study sessions we had with our middle schoolers and with our high schoolers. We actually set aside time for them to give us feedback on the draft of our policy, because this affects them every day, and we needed to make sure that it was something that was going to be relevant. And that they were the ones who said, because we asked them, what should this be? We've looked at lots of different policies, and people talk about an equity policy, an educational equity policy, just different things, and they said, and I really give them credit, they wanted it to be a race and equity policy. Race being called out first, because that's the primary issue that we really need to be addressing. But they were concerned if we didn't add the and equity part, that their classmates, particularly they called out their special education classmates, they were afraid their needs weren't going to be incorporated, because equity is bigger than race, very much a part of it, but we had to have both. So we honored their input, and there were some significant changes that were made. And I will say that was one of their biggest concerns when it was mentioned earlier. They asked the board, it was the board members in here will enjoy this. Their question to us actually was, if teachers aren't upholding the principles of the policy, can you fire them? So we had a conversation about board governance and what we can and cannot do. But their point was, we heard them. So professional development is definitely a part of what we're doing. So with our board priorities, taking this into account, we actually in our strategic plan, Pillar 1, equitable access to standards-aligned instruction. And we're committed to modeling our ongoing learning and supporting what is going to be happening with our race and equity work. Our expectation is that every one of our 5 schools will have representation on that committee, and that we need to be looking at when we hold our meetings so that they're accommodating parents. This has to be including our parents. Their voices are very important. And a lot of times in schools, we tend to do things to accommodate the adults in the system, and the timing of what we do and when we do it. So we need to be looking at when is it easier for our parents to be able to participate. Our board has made the commitment that we will be reading Glenn Singleton's Courageous Conversations about race, and we will be discussing it at board meetings. And we are directing our superintendent to have a comprehensive race and equity plan in place for us. You've heard the students mention ethnic studies classes. This is something we are absolutely supportive of. Everybody benefits from knowing about other cultures. Everybody. You do not have to be of that culture to have an ethnic studies class that is touching on it. You learn in a district like ours where the world is represented. We believe we're going to be turning out better global students and citizens if we're able to do this. And it's come up over and over. I don't see myself in the curriculum. I don't see myself in the different simulations that are there. I feel invisible, like my culture doesn't matter, and that's not what we want. So this is going to take a little time, but it's already underway with looking at developing curriculum, who we can do partnerships with. We have some wonderful teachers who are interested in doing this, and we understand there are budget implications, and I'll just speak to my board colleagues. This is something that you have to step up and support, not just in a policy, but in how you're allocating your resources. It's not going to happen on its own. And we all know when we do our own budgets for our homes, you will find a way to find the money for the things that are a priority. And this has to be a priority. And the message you're sending to your organization by saying this is a budget priority is really important. The professional development that's going to be needed, it's huge. And what other things do we need to be able to do this? So this is, as part of one of our board budget priorities, how to support this work.
Hi. I like to stand because I'm so short when I sit and short when I stand. But my name is Emily Tran, and I am a language arts teacher at Showalter Middle School. And my first year was last year, so I survived that. And those of you who have taught know that the first year is really tough. And for me, it was especially tough because I came into the profession with some really grand ideas. I wanted to be a social justice teacher. I was going to do it every day. It was going to be awesome. It was going to be easy. And then reality set in. And then there were standards and an evaluation. And there were some days when I thought teaching wasn't for me. I really struggled with trying to support my students in navigating a racist system while being a part of that racist system and experiencing the racism myself. So when Erin Herta, my mentor, invited me to join the Race and Equity Committee, I was kind of like, sounds like another thing, sounds like another meeting. But that committee is truly what brought me back to why I'm a teacher. When I started to go to those meetings, when I started to understand the priorities of this district, I felt more confident in my practice. I felt more confident that it is actually my students who bring power and strength to my work. So I joined the district last year, and for a majority of the year I was in the Race and Equity Committee at the district level. And then eventually we said, we need the students on board. We cannot move forward without the students. And at that first meeting with our students, we invited them, 40 of them, came walking across the street and had all these ideas, and that's when I was like, okay, this is where we need to be, this is what we're supposed to be doing. And I can't say it enough. So that's kind of the path that we've led, and that's where we are now, knowing that our students are our priority and they're our strength. So moving forward with our policy, so the board has approved it, and we are now in the implementation process. In this process, one of our first steps, like we've mentioned, is to find ways to involve more community members and to involve our parents and our caretakers in our community. We also want to involve more staff. We need to make sure that there's staff representation from every building at every level. We also want to continue to reach out to other districts in a more collaborative effort. Moving forward, the students have been starting to brainstorm ways that we can institutionalize our policy so that it is a part of every level, vertically and horizontally. Our students have discussed how the race and equity lens needs to be a part of our hiring processes to make sure that our staff members in every building at every level looks like our students and shares perspectives with them. Our students also want to lead professional developments for our teachers as well. And they kind of want to take on that role using data, right, and using their strengths to tell our teachers that this is what we need, this is what our students need. The students have also talked about how they want to work with staff in our buildings to advocate for what is fair and right. They have suggested that they would like to be leaders in the schools as people who students can come to when things aren't fair and right. And as advisors for teachers to come to when they don't know what to say, when they don't know how to respond. It's been a very challenging year. This work is challenging, but it's also very empowering. And as we move to implement our race and equity policy, I am confident that it is our students who will lead the way. I am confident that it is our students who will teach us exactly what our next steps need to be. And it is truly our students that embody what it means to have hope for a better future. So there's one thing to take away. Get your students on board. And with that, I want to leave you with the words of one of our students, Russell, who is going to read his poem to you called Words and Actions.
This is my poem. The ignorance of people is prevalent, fueling the flames of the stereotypes. Bigotry and prejudice is malevolent, contradicting the stars and stripes. I watch and hear from the shadows, people being close-minded and discriminating. Redlining, Islamophobia, and more on the down low, people need to stop berating and start equating. But we can try to make a difference and eradicate this hate through participating in social justice. Decrease the achievement gap rate and peacefully fight against injustice. Social justice is contagious and can cause a chain reaction, but only if you speak with words and take action.
So those are our scholars. And at this time, I'd like to have Kyla Crawford come up to the stage, please. Kyla Crawford, please welcome her. Kyla is a paraeducator in the Tukwila School District and is studying to be a teacher. Kyla sat on the board of Skyway Solutions and on the state level committees to improve career pathways for paraeducators across the state. She's on Showalter dance team as the coach and an advisor to the BSU at Foster High School. She organizes monthly events to improve access and opportunity for youth and local artists. She is here today to share a piece of spoken word that connects our history to our present and challenges each of us to take part in it and honor the future we want to see. Please welcome the absolute brilliant Kyla Crawford.
So this is a piece that I just finished last night. And it took me a while. I kept wondering why it felt so stagnant, why I kept getting writer's block for the past 2 weeks. I've been thinking about these things, these concepts, and there was a reason why, and hopefully, that comes out when you guys hear this. still see the light through the tunnel of my brown skin. I still feel the light calling you and me its kin. I still see a light in the reflection of my brown skin. Let your light shine bright, a new world we must begin. They said, "Mom, can we buy a BB gun?" With joy shooting in their eyes. My chest tightened and my heart rate began to rise. In the blink of an eye, my response was, "No." In the blink of an eye, he was 6 feet below. The relief when my boys made it to their 13th year, while his mom will only know sorrow and fear. How do I begin to soothe the souls of my sons when they're under fire daily and told not to run? When I want to run too and I want to escape, I want it to end because I can no longer wait. When my seeds could be next, stolen from the earth, turned into a martyr from handcuffs to hearse. Imprisoned by hate and targeted by lies, we are the lives the system denies. When the rules bend just to cover the sin, with paid leave for murders and deadly presidential wins. A knife through the legacy, a bullet hole through the cause, casting votes for inequities, hiding privilege behind walls. The misogyny is deafening, and the racism is blinding. The pipeline is strangling. Our resources are dying. This land belongs to who, did you say? The treaty signed in black and white, but the land you're on is gray. We must always keep a forethought, reject becoming an afterthought, because the gentrification that divides us keeps us behind the red lines. On the fields and in our minds, our stories play and rewind. When will we erase the marginal lines and compose new freedom documents to sign? We tell our kids to shoot for the stars. We tell them their dreams shouldn't die behind bars. We say, against injustice, you must stand tall, and when the struggle needs leaders, to answer the call. But where do we stand? On which side do we fall? I want to be remembered for shooting down the walls that divide and say our lives don't matter, the ones that starve the poor while rich pockets get fatter. The walls need to crumble that make children feel like others and fear that deportation will steal away their mothers. Instead, we'll build bridges that guide the way to love. We'll fight a path to equity as the storm rumbles from above. We'll build bridges to dreams from our ancestors' prayers. We'll build in the ways no one else has even dared. We'll build bridges of knowledge, book by book. We'll light the way. Bridges of peace we will forge to lands where all are welcome to stay. We are still a nation of divinity. We can count our skin tones to infinity. We create hope where none could be found. We are known for breaking ceilings and breaking ground. So what will you build? A bridge or a wall? Will your fish shoot in solidarity, or will you tremble and fall? I still see the light through the tunnel of my brown skin. I still feel the light calling you and me its kin. I still feel the light through the tunnel of my brown skin. Let your light burn bright, a new world we must begin.